Today I'll be representing the negative side for this debate about the building of the high-speed rail in California. My opponent outlines in the constructive 3 claims. One claim of significance, that we have a lack or mismanagement of funds. One claim of inherency, that this California High-Speed Rail Authority has a history of mismanagement, and a claim of solvency, that there will not be enough of a ridership base to justify the costs and troubles of creating high-speed rail. To begin, I would like to address the issue of significance. Yes, the estimated cost has risen to about $68 billion from the initial $33 billion estimate done back in 2008 among voters, and has fluctuated in the past. But we shouldn't take this as a sign of fund mismanagement or lack thereof. Its reassessment time after time again should instead act as proof of the work being made underway to analyze and reanalyze the best possible course of action. Jeff Morales, the chief executive of the High-Speed Rail Authority, quotes, "Nobody can sit here and tell you what something like this is going to cost over a 20-year period. Any big program like this is loaded with challenges." And he continues on to say, "The day you hear me say I am comfortable is the day I am not telling you the truth, or the day I have deluded myself." State Senator Patricia Bates, in trying to argue against the rail project herself, points out that many projects like the high-speed rails have had troubles with their estimates. An egregious example is the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge reconstruction that costed $6.5 billion in September of 2013 from an estimated value of $250 million back in 1995. It's not unusual for something like this to happen among big transportation projects. The lesson here, though, is not to stop building rail projects. The lesson is that all major public works spending must be scrutinized and held accountable. And the truth is, at the end of the day, the cost of the entire project will likely cost much more than $6.8 billion. $68 billion. But this number shouldn't scare this number shouldn't scare anyone. Compare this number to the cost of roads in California. Let's say the high-speed rail will cost about $68 billion when finished, but it pales besides the $157.5 billion that will go towards highways over the 15 years, and that's if you assume the annual Caltrans budget holds steady and doesn't increase like it has done in the past. Meanwhile, our state's GDP will amount to $36 trillion over the same time frame, again, assuming our current figures. The high-speed rail will represent less than 1/5 of a percent of the total state GDP during this 15-year period. And interestingly enough, the United States currently spends about 2.5% of their entire GDP on infrastructure projects, which is a low rate relative to other leading nations. Yes, $68 million is a lot, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you that the railroad will pay for itself. In truth, it probably isn't going to pay for itself. It's no lie, of the almost 100 high-speed rails in the world, only 2 of them are profitable. But the bottom line is that it's not just about the bottom line. As my partner will continue to elaborate in her constructive, it's not just about the money. It's never been and it never will. It's about fewer cars and less time on the road, fewer jets in the skies and less pollution in the air. It's about a better tomorrow. In addressing their claim of solvency, that there will not be enough of a ridership base to justify the cost, I ask the audience this. Despite whatever statistics and numbers you might be hearing tonight from both sides, ask yourself, how crazy are the roads and highways in our state, right? I mean, how many times have you sat in bumper-to-bumper traffic when suddenly a 30-minute drive turns into 3 hours? It's a fact that California has one of the most, if not the most busiest and congested road system in our nation. According to Texas A&M Transportation Institute, the commuters in our Los Angeles area lose an average of 80 hours per year due to delays. And according to TRIP, a Washington, D.C. based transportation research nonprofit, the cost to California of delays due to traffic costs us over $20.4 billion each year. Time and time again, surveys and consultants of the High-Speed Rail Authority have estimated that a high-speed rail system will reduce up to 70 million intercity passengers each year, and their same studies and surveys in 2015 have indicated that 52% of the people would prefer the high-speed rail system if given the choice, and 82% would prefer it over air travel. The statistics you hear about inflated numbers of expected riders are probably true again. Again, this is not unusual among big transportation projects. The Channel Tunnel, which connects the United Kingdom and France, ran 80% over budget, and the revenue has only been half of what is projected. But the fallacy of these surveys and reports is that they treat the high-speed rail as its own entity, comparing to those of China, Japan, and some European countries. What they fail to understand, as do many people in our state, is that the high-speed rail is just part of a bigger role in California's transit future. It's not just a fast way to get from the Bay Area to LA. It is a key element of a statewide public transit network with a large rail component that is cleaner and equally as convenient as convenient a travel option as our cars and planes. Simply put, the high-speed rail is much more about a useful state network with frequent and close connections that everyday people can and do use. And the numbers are all there. The passenger rail is growing rapidly in the state. 3 of our intercity services, the San Diego, Los Angeles, San Luis Obispo, the San Jose, Sacramento, and the Oakland, Bakersfield services rank the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th most busy routes in our nation. Jody Meacham of the Silicon Valley Business Journal reports that Caltrain's weekday commuter ridership has more than doubled in a decade and is projected to nearly double again after electrification of the system is completed in 2020. In addressing their claim of inherency that the California High-Speed Rail Authority has had a history of mismanagement, I will agree that the authority could have done better with some of its early management, including undocumented invoices and wrongful estimations, but I contend that many of these reports are repeated time and time again and that the authority have already been addressing. Some of these reports from the state auditor that my opponent references are more than 6 years old. And Robert Cruikshank, a writer for the High-Speed Rail Authority, notes that a House subcommittee has already voted to appropriate $50 billion to the National High-Speed Rail Network, and California can reasonably expect to receive a large portion of that money. Thank you.